I give it better than even odds. You don't want to hear any more about Afghanistan. I get it, I do. But that's the problem. You don't want to hear anything, and then, out of nowhere, it smacks you in the face. Last time I was here was 20 years ago. I'd been told about a POW camp deep in the middle of nowhere, where the Northern Alliance was holding Al-Qaeda and Taliban prisoners. The Alliance had been fighting the Taliban for years and held on to about 15% of the country. The prisoners had come from all over the world, Yemen, China, England, to join the fight against the West. My view was, if I could get from Phoenix, Arizona to Afghanistan, they could make the same trip the other way around. When we were done and made it home, it turned out nobody was too interested in Afghanistan, and I literally couldn't give the show away, never mind sell it. That was until 9/11, and then it ran on MSNBC dozens of times the next few months. Success at a terrible price. Now, 20 years later, we're back because the pressure is once again building in Afghanistan, and something is about to give. And this time, it's not about a small band of terrorists setting up shop to export death to the West. This time, it's about a universe of malevolent actors, highlighted by the big boys, major powers, armed with bad intentions and nuclear weapons, getting ready to descend on Afghanistan. As hellish as it was last time we were here, both for the people of Afghanistan and for the rest of the world, this time could be much, much worse. "20 years ago, Afghanistan was a country that looked both backward and forward, from still playing buzkashi, the much bloodier precursor to polo brought to Afghanistan by Genghis Khan some 900 years ago, to riding around in helicopters, albeit captured ridiculously dangerous ones."
Well, I don't know what else works on this helicopter, but the window works. You definitely can get fresh air, any altitude, any time. There's our fuel tank over there, in case you're wondering. And our seatbelts are nowhere, as you'll see, but that's not so bad because it allows you to stand up really quickly and lift the entire seat up in case you feel so inclined. Yeah, that's our pilot right behind us smoking. Yes, that's his cigarette, which actually, considering he's just a few feet and getting closer every second to the fuel, you might be wondering if that's FAA approved.
20 years ago, the country was torn apart by religious fanatics who sought to impose a brutal form of Islam that predated Genghis Khan, fighting those who believed they could build something resembling a democratic society. It's not that different today. The Taliban still holding most of the countryside, the government, supported by America and other coalition nations, hunkered down in the cities. Last time around, I didn't see that many people. We were up north, in the mountains, where the people are dispersed through smaller towns and farms. This time we're in Kabul, where 8 million Afghans have crowded into the city, doubling its population in just a few years, to get away from the fighting, to find work, to start a new life, to find more freedom, to be whoever they want to be. It's October and the war is intensifying yet again. There isn't a lot of time left before the winter sets in, blanketing everything in snow and cold, and the fighting season will largely be on hold until the spring returns. That's the way it is every year. It might seem strange that a war would pause for the weather, but this is a war, part civil war, part foreign intervention, that has been in the works in one form or another for decades, and the people have learned to get on with their lives around it. It's not war like we're used to, which doesn't let up till the enemy is defeated. This is different. This is war as part of daily life, war without end. Permanent conflict is the central fact of life here, the prime mover and shaker of events. Every aspect of existence is bent to this reality. Let's start with something simple, seemingly inconsequential. Let's talk about traffic. Now, traffic is bad in a lot of places, but there's usually some attempt at order. In cities like Los Angeles or New York, there are just too many cars. Kabul is a whole other issue. It's not just a question of a lot of vehicles pushing and crowding each other. It's that apparently any attempt at organization and order has been abandoned. Traffic goes in every direction. Drivers turn around in the middle of the road, just stop and turn around. And if they have a bodyguard armed with an AK-47, and many people do, the guard jumps out and enforces the about face. Truth be told, my guys did exactly that more than once. There are hardly any traffic lights, a handful of traffic cops, no traffic signs, resulting in a high degree of confusion and danger and, far too often, a complete soul-crushing gridlock. It's an easy metaphor for the entire country, where power and privilege impose their will to the discomfort and disruption of everyone else in this lawless landscape. Afghanistan is held together by spit, glue, and blood, Afghan, American, and others, and an ocean of U.S. money, more than $2 trillion, too much of it wasted, misspent, stolen, lost. Afghanistan is always the same, and it's always shifting. The front line proves that fact. It's not hard to find. Just jump in a car and drive some 30 minutes out of the city. As the city gives way to the countryside, we're entering Taliban territory. We've given up the armored SUV for a couple of old, small sedans, so as not to attract attention. So we're headed out of town to see what's going on closer to the front line, see how people live, see what the story is. We have their scarves because we want to not seem so Western, as we'll pass checkpoints, we'll pass evidently spies who will inform the Taliban. So at some point we're going to really cover up. Not quite there yet, but pretty soon. We make sure to hold our cameras low and inside the car so the light doesn't glint off the lenses and attract the attention of lookouts or snipers. The Afghan government still controls the road, at least in the daytime, but not much beyond that. The road is busy with traffic because goods need to be transported, regardless of the security situation, and both the government and the Taliban rely on these trucks. Finally, we reach a town, and the lines get even more blurred. In spite of a huge army compound just over the hill and army outposts down the road, the town has been well infiltrated by the Taliban, and the square is considered Taliban Central. We move carefully, even smearing dirt over the windows to further conceal us. A little further up the road and we're there.
Those walls there, that's for the bullets because it comes from the Taliban, and that's the front line. And you see they pulled the ranger behind the walls not to be shot.
It's not that impressive. No connected trenches, no massive Maginot Line structures, just a series of small outposts, each pretty much on its own, holding its ground. These outposts have been here for several years, maintaining some semblance of control, or perhaps illusion of control, in the midst of a shifting landscape. The outposts are tied to the town and the surrounding homes in a symbiotic way, as our fixer and translator Ahmed Zia Hidare explains.
As I told you, that a lot of people who work with the government or pro-government, so they cannot live under the Taliban. So they all moved to that town. You see over there, you see the houses. Those are all houses, residential area. So they now live there. So they work here in the capital, and most of these guys who are in the check post, they are police. So they also moved their families to that location.
The threat is not theoretical. One soldier who lived with his family in a house just below the outpost, one of those houses right there, was shot dead just the other day walking up the hill to report to duty. The Taliban had been mostly quiet for the past 72 hours, owing to a bombing run by U.S. jets that temporarily cleared the enemy off the mountains. Regardless, Taliban fighters, especially Taliban snipers, announce they're still out there, letting off a shot now and then, and so we keep our heads low when we move to exposed spots. The enemy is never far and the road is clear until the bend, and after that, it belongs to the Taliban. The army could push them off, but doesn't have either the resources or strategic stamina to keep them out. Maybe there's no reason either. After all, if the Taliban don't control this bend, they'll control the next. You could say there's no winning or losing, just surviving. The Afghan military and security forces are comprised of a collision of different units, from the army to the police to paramilitary forces, some better trained, better supplied, better led, many less so. These troops are police and mainly wear their own clothes, in part because of lax standards, in part to more readily blend in with the populace and not be so easily targeted. What's the situation here?
فعلا وضعیت دلته څنګه دی؟
فعلا خو وضعیت خرابه ده. وضعیت خرابه ده. خو همدغه ناامني ډیره ده. طالبان اوس په زور کې دي.
Could they overrun this place?
نه ځای نشي نیوای. موږ تر مرګه تر څو ژوندي موږ ورسره جنګیږو. یاره ځو وظیفو ته هم ځو. او دا ډیر دا درې څلور کاله همدلته پراته یو وظیفو ته هم ځو. هر جنګ ته ځو.
How often do the Taliban attack you?
یعنی روزمره یا هفته کې جنګونه هم سره کېږي او هره ورځ ټاک ټوک سره کوئ؟
و څو واره جنګ کړی په موږ نه دي کامیابه سوي او نه کامیابېږي. دا دوه درې وارې په دالان د پوستو باندې ما جنګ وکړ خو ډېره کلکه ماته یې وخوړه. بله ورځ یې جنګ وکړ په 5 پوستې سره دیوالو سره طالبان پراته وو. تقریبا له پسرلي راهیسې شپږ اووه کس شهیدان سوي.
From this year, we lost like 7 members of our friends here in the fighting.
So do they usually attack during the day or at night?
د ورځې عملات در باندې کړي کې شپې.
دوه وارې خو د ورځې وکړله لرې په دراسکو په موږ ډاس کوي. همداسې واس نه رسېږي چې دا په موږ جبهي جنګ وکړو او نه جبهي جنګ کړی. همدغه له لرې په دراسکو کوي.
Mostly they attack us on snipers from a far destination. But recently we had 2 daytime attacks, big attacks, and 1 at night.
And you've been here 4 years, what do you think is going to happen?
څلور کاله کې دلته یې څه فکر کوي چې څه به وشي؟
راځه نو توکل په خدای. موږ خو ورته پراته یو تر څو ژوندي ورسره جنګېږو.
We pick up an escort as we head further into Badlands. In between the danger, life can get monotonous in the hinterlands, and the men seem pretty happy to have visitors. As we head into the mountains, the armored vehicle takes up the rear position, fine for observing an attack, not so good for protecting us in our little tin cans. Regardless, we drive along the dusty road, past the walls that enclose homes and farms. The road winds up, down, and around, ending on the edge of the settlement, where a sort of fort stands, its high walls well reinforced. It's a strange-looking place, both modular and shambolic, dropped in the middle of this arid land.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Was okay?
This is the garrison's captain, in charge of 65 police troops. He's thankful the recent airstrikes have caused a break from Taliban attacks, but knows that's all it is, a break.
هغه دوم چې کوم جنگ پروګرام نشي د نور ولایتو ارجان راټول کی و عمله وکي و هم ان شاء الله ختم شي په دې شپو کې نو ما باندې لاره سمږه پیژن.
We leave the compound for a quick patrol, but it's all quiet. A couple of the men decide to fire off a few rounds, just for fun, and to show off for visitors. Apparently, they haven't visited Arizona, where I live, and where we have more than a few guns of our own. A few miles away sits the center of Afghan government military activity in the area. A former U.S. base, now run by the Afghans, is the headquarters of a police special forces detachment, comprised of almost 1,000 soldiers. The lieutenant colonel in command has been fighting for 17 of his 37 years. He's earned a reputation for competence and fearsomeness among both friends and enemies, and, at first glance, is respected and perhaps even beloved by his troops, who are as squared away as he is. Grievously wounded by a bomb during an assassination attempt a few years ago, he walks with a pronounced limp. How do you think things are going right now?
نو وضعیت خو دشمن تاروکال داری دشمن خپل کوشش کوي خو ان شاء الله ټول ولسته من اطمینان ورکو چې دشمن د هر قسم اقداماتو د لپاره موږ آمادګي لرو. دشمن د دې توان هم نه لري چې یا ولایت ته سقوط ورکړي یا کوم ولسوالۍ ته سقوط ورکړي. ان شاء الله داسې تشویش نشته.
Why can't they be defeated here? You have superior, probably numbers and superior equipment. So why does this stalemate exist?
میدونست چی گروه جنسف ده توسو وسایل یا تانکونا یا اسلحه یا لوجستیک در دښمن نه بهتره دي ولې نشي کوای چې فرزن دوی د یعنی دوی د بین یوسي
دشمن خو د عام المنفعه ځایونو نه استفاده کوي لکه د ولس کورونه شو باغ شو موږ ځان ته اجازه نه ورکوو زموږ وظیفه د ولس خدمت دی چې طالب غوندې موږ هم اقدامات وکړو بیا زموږ هغوی منځ کې فرق نه پیدا کیږي
Do you think the people are on your side or on the Taliban side?
ملت خو موږ سره د ملت خو دشمن سره نشته هغه خو تعاملي جبري خلکو باندې خلک ګیروګان نیسي کله چې زموږ په پوستو باندې عملیات کوي د ولس د
If the order was destroy the Taliban, we want to end this war one way or the other, what would you actually do? How would you take them on?
نو موږ خو فلال دفاعي حالات کې وو د زموږ د افغانستان د اسلامي جمهوریت د مسلح قواو سرعلا قماندان په هدایت باندې فعال دفاعي حالات کې یو که امر وکړي موږ دې ته آماده یو موږ د دشمن نه زموږ سلام قوي دی زموږ مورال هم قوي دی ولس هم موږ سره دی انشاءالله دا ستونزه نه لري خو چون موږ ته داسې هدایت شوی دی چې دفاعي حالات کې اوسیږي نو رئیس جمهور هدایت سره سم موږ دفاعي حالات کې یو که دشمن کوم حملات تر سره کوي موږ غاښ ماتونکی جواب ورکوو ورته
Note that every officer, whether commanding a tiny outpost or a battalion, is confident about holding off the enemy and beating them in a fair fight in the field. Perhaps that would be so, except that war isn't about fighting fair, and the Taliban certainly don't play by anybody else's rules. Then again, too often, neither does our side. We say goodbye to the colonel and head back to the city. Once again, we encounter a lot of traffic, pass a lot of checkpoints, and also a lot of dubious-looking characters armed to the teeth. Once again, there are times when we have to cover up and hide our cameras. The Afghan government might be talking to the Taliban in the wake of a deal between the Taliban and the US that set the timeline for American troop withdrawal from the country, but few expect all that to amount to anything more than talk. The front is never far from the city, and I'm not talking about distance. Most civil wars you're familiar with are pretty straightforward. North against the South in the US, Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland, the Red Army and the White Army in Russia, Yankees and the Red Sox, Coke and Pepsi, the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. That's not Afghanistan. We do have the Taliban versus the Afghan national government, but that's the tip of a big, bloody iceberg. There's tribal warfare between the Pashtuns, Uzbeks, Tajiks, Azaris, and others, warlords killing and murdering for their own profit and power, and then throw in Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Pakistani intelligence and Iranian spies and Russian agents, on, all making alliances and breaking them, conspiring with one group and betraying another, and the killing goes on. Every day proves the point. A suicide bomber had blown himself up at a girls' school at the end of the day. By the time we heard about it and got there the next morning, the bodies, 24 of them, had been taken away, along with more than 80 injured, and the cleaning was well underway. He had turned off the main street, encountering the guards at the start of this long alleyway, which leads to different courtyards and school buildings, claiming he was picking up his sister. The guards had searched him, but he had come unarmed, and so they let him pass. Once inside, he suddenly turned around and left, and now outside he strapped on the vest. The guards, dealing with the rush of students swirling about, and having already checked him, waved him in. Moments later, he blew himself, and so many others, into oblivion. Now all that's left is shattered glass, destroyed classrooms, and bits of blood and flesh. This is a Shia neighborhood, with strong links to Iran through Iranian agents embedded here. Before long, ISIS, an increasingly significant presence in Afghanistan, whose extremist Sunni ideology holds Shia Muslims as one of their many enemies, will claim authorship of the attack. Today, no one knows who or why for sure, though theories abound, ranging from probable to the absurd. The disparity the result of living with unrelenting, pointless violence. This is the director of the school.
It is clear the enemies of the people of Afghanistan who are. It is clear. So for the government, for the people, for the high-ranking officials, it is clear who is responsible. But it is a very bad explosion.
So is it, when you say it's clear, is it the Taliban? Is it ISIS? Is it foreigners?
So I cannot say exactly who are they. I cannot name. So it is absolutely specific for the people, for the Afghan nations who are attacking and who are killing the Afghan nations, the Afghan tribes, the Afghan people. It is very regretful for the people.
A young man blames the Afghan government.
That there is many students that they are getting ready for the matriculation exam.
Who do you think committed the attack?
Who was the responsible?
Who was responsible?
It's clear that it's whom they don't want that our people improve. And the last matriculation exam, the general first position of whole Afghanistan was from this center, and that's those people that they don't want to our people improve. It is not a governmental center. Just all the students, innocent students, all of them are just 18 years old.
And this man, member of the Shia Jafari sect and father of a daughter who thankfully was not hurt, let loose with his fury.
بس از دیگه از این کارا از دشمن بخواه که ما درس خدا الا بتیم نمیتیم ما درس ما را ورزش ما را ما جعفری مذهب هستیم به دولت ما خیانت نکردیم به هیچ کسی از حقوق خود از سال 71 تا این سر روز ما دفاع کردیم بس از دیگه این کار نوکرای کشورهای خارج تا بکی مردم تو قتلام از قتلام ما نمیترسیم رهبر شهید ما به ایران رفته ما هم سر جان ما فدای راستک دیشب کجا بودیم مردم که اینجا دوتای گوشت مردم جمع میکرد یا چی کار کرده میان درس میخونن آینده کشور جور میکنن به محرم ما خود ما امنیت خدا میگیریم چرا یک پتاقی صدا نمیتست پیش ما ما خودم زخمی جنبشی رو شنه بدیم از انگسو ما بگی ترس میخوریم این کار ما ادامه میتیم اموال چرس بیا پای ما معلولین ما کار ده معلولین گرفتن نمیتونه غریب کار ما غریبی نتونه کاسب ما اینجا کاسبی کنه بچه های ما درس خواندن نتونه تا بکی ما خودم 14 تا چرس بیا پایم هم سنگرایم اموال به خانه خواست بازم بچه های خود به درس میرم کار میکنیم غریبی میکنیم میگیم باشه درس بخونه آینده کشور ما جور شوه از این بدبختی برایم تا بکی تو بدبختی.
Tensions are high, and it was thought best not to bring our Afghan film crew, that they'd be looked on with suspicion for reasons not entirely clear to me, so we went without them. Now the crowd is getting larger and louder as we leave. We stop before an anguished young woman who keeps asking, over and over, why her friends were murdered, for what purpose, when all they wanted to do was study and learn. Our driver, waiting on the street, phones Ahmed to tell him we have to leave now. People are muttering that the Americans support ISIS and the Taliban, and that means the Americans are behind the bombing. The crowd's anger is quickly, dangerously spiraling, and since we're the only two Americans around, the driver says we are running out of time before we're attacked. We go. As we leave, I am struck by how normal the street seems. Stores open, people shopping, talking, laughing. When something terrible happens back home, a mass shooting for instance, the shock and horror of the event causes everything to stop in that place, that neighborhood, for a moment to mourn. Apart from the precise destroyed location of the attack, that is not true here. Perhaps there are just too many attacks, too much tragedy. Life goes on. Existence is precarious enough in Afghanistan. People can't afford not to work, because survival for many is a day-to-day affair. So the markets are busy, the shops are open, the schools remain full. They keep the doors open, They keep practicing their trades, perfecting their crafts, building, creating, cooking, selling, hawking, haggling, pushing, dealing, finding a way to make a little money, finding a way to keep going. Some are even opening ambitious new businesses, requiring not only faith in the future, but also substantial capital, like this restaurant. A stylish vegetarian restaurant, no less, that looks like it would fit on Manhattan's Upper West Side just as readily as on this cobble street. Of course, that future remains uncertain, and it is entirely possible that the Taliban will one day be in charge of the city. So it's not an unreasonable question to wonder if the owner thinks the Taliban would like his restaurant, and not entirely unexpected that he would answer with some enthusiasm.
Like this, when the Taliban is coming up, absolutely they'll like it, because there's the environment we are building, and the other people is all the restaurants also. They are, the people, the human, to be, sitting with family, with friends, relaxing, talking about everything. So that is the place we are making for.
This surprisingly optimistic view of the Taliban is in sharp contrast to his opinion of the American role in Afghanistan.
We say for other countries, please leave us alone. We can solve our problems here together, because we are Afghan, we are solve each other, we are, doing. But the other countries like US and India and Pakistan, it is many other, Iran and other countries, Russia, and many countries, they are involved this war. We know, but we say for them, please forgive us. To let us, we should go.
The Afghan view of the U.S. and its role in the country is, after 20 years of war, complicated, twisted around drone strikes and aid and corruption and politics. From the street to the government, the jumble of confusing, contradictory rumors, disinformation, and actual facts leads to both truth and nonsense. A young journalist expresses her distrust of the negotiations between the Taliban and America and the Taliban and the Afghan government.
But for me personally, I feel like it's a game, because everything is set before the peace talk starts. Because the release of the Taliban's prisoners and I don't know, the behind scenes.
Well, who's the game between? Who's playing the game?
And of course, US and Taliban. Isn't that obvious?
While it wouldn't be the first time the U.S. abandoned an ally, from Laotian tribesmen to Iraqi translators to Kurdish fighters, just for starters, and the U.S. did negotiate with the Taliban without including the Afghan government, the U.S. and the Taliban are not working together to undermine that government, though that might be the result. A member of parliament talking about the toll U.S. drone strikes and aircraft bombings have taken on the people.
In military sites like this bombardment, they did, the civilian, they kill civilian, that no Afghan can accept that or it will be acceptable for Afghans. This is the biggest mistakes that from the military side they did.
More than 10,000 Afghan men, women, and children, the exact number is unknown, have been killed by drone and airborne strikes. The number of deaths goes beyond any conceivable, acceptable notion of collateral damage. A study in Pakistan showed that only 4% of those killed in U.S. drone strikes had any terrorist affiliation. A former general on the charge that Afghan officials, politicians, business people, and, yes, generals, all participated in the theft of billions of American aid dollars.
All the big contract done by foreign companies, most of our company, when they build military bases, big investment, and they take all money back to the countries, the foreign countries. Some of small item will take by Afghan people. This is my experience.
While some Americans have certainly participated in the overcharging graft and all the rest that spells corruption, a lot of Afghans, especially a lot in high positions, have gotten rich from stolen U.S. aid. A parliament member providing a more nuanced and detailed explanation of the same corrupt narrative.
So after 20 years since 9/11 and since the U.S. has poured billions of dollars into Afghanistan, more money than we spent during the Marshall Plan, why is the situation not stable? Why isn't the economy good? Why isn't the government functioning well?
all the money which international community and especially US spent it here in Afghanistan, it was like temporary something. They didn't do any fundamental work here that it should be beneficial for our future and our new generation.
Well, I mean, they built schools and hospitals, and didn't they support a lot of businesses? Where are you saying the money went?
Some of the money went back to outside the country, and for example, for their employee salary, for their house rent, for their insurance, for those things. And some of the money didn't spend very well because of the security situation. Sometimes when you're implementing the project in the area or province that it's under Taliban, and they're asking for their own tax and profit and those things, from each project they're taking 10% from the total cost. It's too much money.
Top to bottom, it's all a mess. Between war and reconstruction over the past 2 decades, the U.S. has spent some $2.5 trillion and lost more than 2,400 soldiers. And Afghanistan remains a country which cannot hold itself together, nor hold off foreign enemies, nor survive without foreign aid. Still, somehow, for the time being at least, Afghanistan endures.
We are living since 4 decades in war. And now the nation only hope is peace. If the peace is here and we have peace, we can live good. And without peace, it's impossible to continue this situation, and it is not acceptable for our people.
But I think 2 or 3 years will be just fighting between army and enemies, but slowly will be collapsed that.
Is democracy important to you?
اگه دموکراسی برای خود کدام ارزش داره؟
دموکراسی اگر واقعا دموکراسی باشه که ارزش برای نه تنها برای تمام مردم ارزش داره، ولی دموکراسی فقط اسم است در افغانستان. دموکراسی وجود نداره.
Democracy doesn't exist in the country. In fact, it's just the name exists, but we don't really have democracy. Of course, it's important for us, but we don't have it.
Is it something, do you think most Afghans would fight to preserve?
فکر میکنی با خاطر دموکراسی مردم شاید مبارزه کنن، جنگ کنن؟
بله، مردم آزادی را دوست دارن، دموکراسی را دوست دارن. خصوصا مردم افغانستان به خاطر دموکراسی میلیون ها شهید دادن، تلفات دادن. ولی متاسفانه دموکراسی ما برعکس شد، به دست ما نیامد.
Of course, many people lost their lives and they paid a big price for it. But unfortunately, so we see that day by day we are losing democracy. Our people like liberty, democracy, but unfortunately we see that every day it's totally going upside down.
Back in the middle of the 19th century, amid the glory of the British Empire, Her Majesty's cavalry captain Arthur Connolly dubbed the contest between Great Britain and Russia to control Central Asia, including Afghanistan, the Great Game. The question for today, is it a game that matters? Does Afghanistan matter to anyone but Afghans? Does it still have the kind of strategic value that nations very far away, like the United States, should be willing to fight over? It's easy to make a case that any strip of land, anywhere in the world, possesses prime strategic value to the West, given the right or wrong scenario. Any way you slice it, some places count more than others, and we have to decide where to plant the flag and where to stay away. One thing to remember, in that first round of the Great Game, Britain was run out of Afghanistan and Russia dominated the nations of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan until the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And what did they have to show for it? And what difference did it make all those years to the US and the West? Did anyone in Washington, anyone on Main Street, even notice? Did anyone care? You have to run a gauntlet to enter my hotel. Layer after layer after layer of gates and police, private security and soldiers. And if the bad guys should manage to get by all that... And here's something I bet you've never seen in a hotel room before. This bolt. kind of the last line of defense in case the bad guys have made their way up and they want to get in your room. That's supposed to stop them. Now, before they used explosives to get in, so maybe it wouldn't work, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. That might sound a little excessive until you know that this very hotel was attacked in 2011 by suicide bombers, killing 21, and then again in 2018, when 5 terrorists descended and murdered 42, going room by room, hunting guests. It's not just this hotel, for no place is guaranteed safe. And so, for example, you have to pass by armed men and 2 metal doors angled to minimize the impact of a bomb to enter a grocery store. Kabul at times has the feel of a besieged city, what I imagine Saigon or Carthage to have been like as the enemy closed in and the abyss appeared. Barbed wire is everywhere, ribbons of wire traversing the metropolis. But that's just the start of defenses. More imposing are the tall, thick concrete walls, guardhouses, electronics, and soldiers. Levels of protection increasing as the wealth of neighborhoods and the importance of government ministries rises, making it coldly clear where one ranks in society. Not that, in the end, any wall or camera will make a difference if the Taliban gather the strength and momentum to breach the city. Here's another way to tell where one stands on the socioeconomic ladder.
This is the King's Palace, built in the 1800s, destroyed during the Civil War in 1993-94, rebuilt. Now it's a public park, as well as it has a restaurant and an event center you can rent. What's interesting about this is you see the entire sweep of the city below, and up here, all those houses, that's where the poor people live. The rich people live down there. Now, in every city I've ever been in, the rich live up high for better protection, better air, better view. But in Kabul, like so many things in Afghanistan, everything is upside down.
Layla Hidre runs this drug rehab center and another. It's her passion. In her other life, she's a successful businesswoman. The centers came about because her brother was an addict and she wanted to save him. And then she decided to save others. 7,000 and counting, in fact. She does it on her own because the government doesn't help, nor does anyone else.
The government wouldn't support you or private foundations?
حکومت حمایه مالیتون نمیکنه؟
نه حکومتی که از لحاظ فساد اداری مقام دوم یا سوم را در جهان داره ما از انتظارم نداریم که ما را حمایت بکنه. ولی ما به عنوان افراد عادی که در این جامعه هستیم با مسئولیت و وظیفه خود رو میدونیم که بیاییم یک گوشه از مشکلات از جامعه را حل بکنیم. کاری را که باید دولت انجام بده، اما خاطر اینکه درست نمیتونن انجام بدن ناگزیر مردم عادی خودشان شروع کردن به کار.
She set up this shoe business to help fund the rehab centers. Some of the workers graduated from her program. It's a tough go, but it works. Corruption is a thread that runs through the country, taking many forms, some hidden, some right out front. A trusted source provided this list, which catalogs high-ranking government jobs for sale to the highest bidder. Those interested will shell out anywhere from $500,000 to several million, depending on how much a particular position is worth in graft and theft, with the expectation the new official will get back his investment within 6 months. Accounts of bribes being routinely dispersed via envelopes of cash to members of parliament are commonplace, though many other methods of corruption exist as well. A common racket is to start a noble-sounding nonprofit, recruit or buy thousands of names, forming an impressive voting bloc to deliver to political allies, who then have the government generously fund the nonprofit, money not only going to the top but also flowing to lieutenants to keep the operation going. The scams are endless and overlay society like a heavy blanket, stifling democracy, opportunity, and hope. This high-ranking official is a general by morning and in the afternoon runs his foundation from his Kabul office, which trains young people for jobs.
ولی از طرف دیگر مردم کار میکنه عملیات فعلا در 36 ولایت جنگ گریان دارد. یک بازی بود که امریکا مردم امریکا با افغانستان بازی میکنن.
The Taliban are negotiating for peace and all that. Do you have faith in that? Do you trust that?
We see what happened because during this 40 year, every time all Afghan people will think we will be better, but we never see the better time.
So let's say if the negotiations fail, what should the government do?
They should fight.
Okay, but they've been fighting for 20 years.
Then we don't have any other way.
And can you really have a functioning democracy in a government when there is so much corruption within the government?
Yes, there is corruption in the government, and Afghan people are not happy from this government and from this president, because the president gave them a lot of promises that they will make work and they will bring jobs, then they will bring businesses, and they will support the private sector to create work and job for the people, but they are failed.
How do you fix it?
Yeah, it's if international community support the government and work with them to give the good service to the people, and without any corruption, it's possible.
If you look at the history of Afghanistan, there's often been one country, whether it was the British, the Russians, Genghis Khan, who have invaded or been involved in Afghanistan. Today it seems there are many big countries, all the countries surrounding Afghanistan, Russia, China, Pakistan, Iran, all want a piece of it. It seems like a more dangerous time in a lot of ways than ever before.
It could be more dangerous and it could be more hope because in the last, as you said, these countries were involved. Now all the world is involved. When we could, that world became on a solution for Afghanistan, and they solved Afghanistan problem.
That might be the crux of the matter. The world's great powers, the US, China, Russia, along with regional powers Pakistan and Iran, as well as India, halfway between regional and great power, have planted their flags in Afghanistan, some more firmly than others, aiming at mineral rights, water claims, trade routes, market access, military positioning, all of which add up to strategic value, and each of which has proved sufficient in the past for nations to fight over.
از یک طرف میگه ما پروسه صلح میشیم مذاکره میکنیم و از طرف دیگه میره 30 نفر جان طفلا را زنها را میگیره در اون زمین چوبرانه در این سراب میکنه. آیا در اسلام یک نظامیده شده؟ کفر بگو کار انجام نمیده عمل.
Afghan army is in better situation right now, and we built our country with help of international community, especially US. But now I think after 2014, slowly will go down because our government management situation, international community support is slowly lost. We lost that. Therefore, most of our checkposts, more our HQ around the country is captured by Taliban.
Aside from Pakistan, which countries are working with the Taliban?
It could be several countries. We heard about Russia, and also we heard about Iran, that and maybe there is China in some parts, but Afghanistan issue is a kind of now not just belong to Afghanistan or to our neighbor countries. It belongs to the world.
Continued instability in Afghanistan presents dangers from terrorists and drug traffickers to all parties. Pakistan and India, always dancing on the edge of war, and nuclear war at that, use Afghanistan as a proxy battleground. Iran and Pakistan each demand access to Afghanistan's rivers. China is digging in Afghanistan's mines, trying to extract copper, cobalt, lithium, and oil worth some $1 trillion. But all that and more is prelude to the heavyweight contest, a sideshow to the growing superpower struggle between China and America, being played out most dramatically, though not exclusively, in the South China Sea. In that battle, every side show suddenly becomes vital, an organic piece of the global life and death clash. Just one example, politically and militarily, Pakistan and China are increasingly working together in Afghanistan, which could spill over into a united campaign against their mutual opponent, India, all nuclear powers, which could quickly draw in the US and spin out to encompass the rest of Asia. Afghanistan gives America forward air bases in the heart of Central Asia, within striking distance of China, bases that could become the focus in a military escalation between China and America over Taiwan, Pacific sailing lanes, or other hotspots. Afghanistan emerging as an accelerant to war involving the entire world. The people of Afghanistan understand that tomorrow doesn't hold much promise for a brighter day. Perhaps none grasp this better than the young, who are going to inhabit that tomorrow.
Are young people optimistic for the future? What do they think their future is going to look like?
The people of Afghanistan for now situation, they really think that their future will be in trouble, in a big trouble, and it will be a big catastrophe for the future of everybody who are living in Afghanistan. This is not I am saying, this is not what I am saying, but this is the thing that everybody have.
Like the US has been here, and it's because of the US that we have democracy today. We enjoy our rights, and the little safety or security that we have in your time with the US people, and of course our national army. But Afghanistan as a country, I would say, they failed to be autonomy. Like they failed to grow up as an autonomy country because of a large number of warlords who were fighting, we still are fighting because of power, gaining powers. And those warlords, each of them belong to a particular ethnic group, starting from Hazara people, Tajik, Pashtun, Uzbek, and many more. In between, it's just innocent people's lives lost, year by year, day by day. For example, the next moment, I'm not sure whether I'm gonna be alive.
Now we are in a bad situation, in the middle of lots of problems. Taliban, ISIS. It's all of this my idea. I'm a young person, live in Afghanistan, but I have lots of problems. I don't have a normal life. Maybe I can't go from Kabul to Herat with bus with this stuff. Yes, tattoo or
The Taliban would do what to you? What if they saw it? They would cut it
cut
off.
As I said, it's a normal thing all of the world, yeah? But in Afghanistan, you don't have rights of my own body to tattoo or you are infidel, you have to go.
Four local rappers, each with a small following in Kabul, got together and produced a video, an impressively polished video, expressing their feelings and frustrations. Suffice to say the Taliban would not approve. When I was in Afghanistan 20 years ago, we were shocked by the simple declarations of aspiring terrorists.
So is he the kind of guy, because he believes so strongly, that he'd be willing to, like, let's say, strap a bomb around his stomach and go blow up a bus of school children because that's the right thing to do? Would he do that?
اگر مثلا برازی وظیفه داده شود که بوده ما این کار میکنیم. The scholars, the religious scholars order us, we will do that.
Wow, that's a real showstopper. It's hard to think of what to say after that, you know? No, could you tell them that I think that's like, there's nothing godly or religious or decent or human about killing children to further any belief?
مگه که چیز آیا حکومت خدا اعتقادات از زیاد اطفال
بسرعه که صحیح صحیح
Islam refused to kill small children, but it orders to kill the younger. They can think about.
Well, if he's such a big bad soldier, how come he got captured and he didn't die fighting?
مقدرات بوده در قسمت و مقدرات ما نوشته بود. It was willing of the God which I captured him.
That he threw his gun down and raised his hand and said, "Please don't shoot me." That was the gods doing it or him? You don't have to repeat that. I think we got enough. Thanks a lot, you son of a...
Those pronouncements almost seem quaint today, as we have since witnessed beheadings, burnings, suicide attacks, mass rape, mass murder, and genocide.
Group, more than 1,700 Iraqi soldiers were loaded onto flatbed trucks, then forced to lie face down in a shallow ditch before being executed.
The world has turned over many times in 2 decades, and Afghanistan is a place of building and destruction and building again in an endless cycle. Still, as we said in the beginning, life goes on, often precariously as embodied by this motorcycle club of young men who take to busy roads to perform outrageous stunts, a dangerous form of self-expression for themselves and for all others on the road. Pointless bravado, symbolic of Afghanistan's bent for self-destruction. Afghanistan's fate is to serve as the canvas for others to live out their imperial dreams. Nevertheless, there are those not ready to give up.
So this time, I'm not going to leave my country, and I'm not going to stay in my country as those persons that they were stay before, but they didn't do anything. I'm going to live in my country, but I'm going to stand against them. If they did the same thing, this is maybe we would have lots of other young generation in our country that they would do the same thing as I do.
If we would get united and if we would work from bottom of our hearts, hopefully the peace will come. Because as a united voice, I don't think that the Taliban would ever dare to come or take over the country like 1994.
I don't have normal life here in my country. When I don't have peace, I will stand. Yes, anybody want to take my life or dream.
So that's it. That's where we're at. The more the world changes, the more it stays the same. The pursuit of power remains the same. Greed remains the same. Jealousy, fear, compassion, hope, all the same. So goes the great game, which is not a game at all, but still a game that has caught Afghanistan in its grip and won't let go. In a just insane world, Afghanistan, with its natural resources and advantageous trading location, would be doing fine, maybe better than fine. But that just insane world would mean there would be no religious nuts, no terrorists, no warlords, no foreign forces, no foreign intrigue. There would be peace and freedom and common sense and decency. That's in a just insane world, a world that does not exist, a world we won't see anytime soon. One final note about that phrase, the great game, and the man who coined it, Captain Connolly. In 1841, he set out to rescue a fellow English officer being held by a dastardly local emir in what is now Uzbekistan. The emir invited the good captain into his stronghold, then threw him in prison along with his compatriot, eventually chopping off both their heads. Something to think about.
Jasum manamim chiye چی میکنم کسو کارم کیه دروغ دقلی ذاتم نیه اگه خوش کردی رپ مدقاتم بیه مصدوم بچه روی ای سرک میخوانه از زندگی که ندارد درک چه باشه کیفم تو که برم بیتیم کلاشا که سر کنیم دم بدم با تلیه چله این استق قصه سیندرلا به کاری فیلم پرنو شهوت و استمنا خط فقر و اختلاف اجتماعی تقصیر تویه که خوشی جن شدم و هم بسم الله نعوذ بالله از تو ارق ملیت همش هم مسیر رپ ما و خط فکریت تو بوگو کت قافه یا که غین قرآن اگه فامیدیم با ناکو بریم لا اکراه فی الدینه پر از تو مسکینه سلاحم رپ مست کلمات مرمیمه تو بوگو برم همی خاکی ها که زنجیره ده پای مسخ شده مفقانی تقصیره کیه اگه خوش شده بهار ارمانم جگرم خون انار قندارم اگه ظاهرم خوشتر از دشت بگ و باشم اگم باطنم هوای پروانم مستیم صدای تو صدای مردم گردن نبودن به انتظار درد مستیم قلم سرخ و بلگ کاغذی که هر دفعه نوشته افتخار رفت مستیم خمار سرخ خمار همدلی یک ملت در پای انقلاب من کنار تو کنار هم کنار ما میشه خط کلام هیپ هاپ روای من روش بگی لاله تولید طولی تاریخ زخمایی ماندی با خونی تاریک داخل مدت زمان زیادی نمیره یادم ولی ما دادیم شهدای بر چیزی که حال داره با اذن خدای متعالی ساختیم اتحادی و ادامت دارم متوالی دمی خاک شدیم ما متولد گپ از دیفاعش باشه همون جق و تبری برای حفظشون همه تو ما چیریکی بد کنی برخورد نکنیم فیزیکی دیدی که قد کنی نالاشان در ما میریم که استوارش کنیم هوای پاک بیا از کلیکن دیلیم که در کوچای کابولینی قسم هیپ هاپ سرکار اگه از کنم بگو کس که درای مستاد بشه وقتی تروریست جرمیش اثبات بشه ولی جانا جرمی نیست میگن خیر از اسلامشه خوب ولی مشکل موضوعی کنه نیست که جای توقع رسپان میشه مرد وقتایی که دورا بود چرت نزن صبح نمونم بگه سرت زور ظلم دیگه دیدیش میشه کور برد از آن کسی نیست که حق دور خود زور با جنگ نمیای بیا تو بکو تو بکو